She hasn't hit a single ball at the US Open yet, and she's already bigger than half the players who have. One tennis dress. One shirt with her name on it. And suddenly, a 21-year-old from the Philippines is being talked about in rooms that have nothing to do with tennis at all. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that's happening, and why it might be the most important thing about her career right now, bigger, even, than her ranking. Because for years, athletes have been told the formula works one way. Win first. Build the audience later. Earn the trophies, and eventually the fame follows. Alex Eala's story is not following that formula. Her fame is arriving before her biggest results are even finished being written. And that raises a question worth sitting with for the next 15 minutes. What happens to an athlete when the world falls in love with her before she's finished proving herself? Stick around, because the answer to that question is exactly where this story is heading, and it involves a moment on a tennis court that hasn't happened yet. Before we get into it, if stories like this are the reason you watch women's tennis content, do yourself a favor and subscribe right now, because this channel exists to go past the highlight reel and actually explain what's happening underneath it. There's a lot more coming on this exact story in the next few weeks, and I don't want you to miss it. If any of this has ever taught you something new, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you catch what comes next. Okay, let's get into it. Here's where things stand. Alex Eala is 21 years old, from the Philippines, and she is heading into the 2026 US Open with a season that has completely rewritten what people expect from her. She reached the fourth round at Wimbledon after knocking out defending champion Iga Swiatek in a brutal, 3-hour battle on center court, the deepest any Filipino has ever gone at that tournament. Weeks later, she won her first ever WTA singles title at the Wimbledon City DC Open in Washington, beating Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen, defending champion Leylah Fernandez, Alina Svitolina, and finally Jessica Pegula in a final she came back to win after trailing in the decider. That made her the first Filipino player, man or woman, to win a WTA Tour singles title. Days after that, her ranking updated to a career high, and as of this week she sits at world number 18, the highest ranking any Filipino has ever held. That's the tennis. That's the foundation everything else is being built on top of. But something else has been happening in parallel, and it's moving at a completely different speed than the rankings. Before she has even struck a ball at Flushing Meadows, Nike revealed the outfit she'll wear there, a royal blue Nike Court Slam dress, priced at $140, with mesh detailing and basketball-inspired design elements that Nike is rolling out across several of its top players this US Open. For a lot of Filipino fans, though, the significance went past the design notes. That particular shade of blue immediately drew comparisons to the blue of the Philippine flag, the same way her national teams wear it in basketball and volleyball. What could have been just another tournament outfit turned into something people felt personally connected to. Then came the part nobody was quite ready for. Alongside the dress, Nike released a signature, Alex Eala, shirt, a black tee with floral detailing and her name printed across the back, priced at $42. According to multiple outlets covering the release, the shirt sold out quickly, while other pieces from Nike's US Open lineup remained available. Some fans online pushed back on the design, calling it too plain for a first signature piece. And here's the interesting part, that criticism didn't slow the demand down at all. People were debating the shirt because they cared enough to want it to be better. That's a very different kind of attention than indifference. Debate means people are watching. Sold out stock means people are buying. When both are happening at once, you're no longer just talking about merchandise. You're talking about a fanbase forming in real time. Now, hold that thought, because here's where the story gets bigger than a t-shirt. This isn't the first time Eala's off-court image has made headlines this year. Back in April, at the Laureus World Sports Awards in Madrid, sports equivalent of the Oscars, alongside honorees like Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka, she walked the red carpet in a modern Filipiniana, the Philippines' traditional formal dress, designed by her own uncle, Red Eala. It became one of the most talked about red carpet moments of the night, not because of the label attached to it, but because of what it represented. A young athlete taking a global stage and using it to carry her culture forward instead of leaving it behind. That thread, tennis achievement plus cultural identity plus a growing fashion presence, is exactly what's converging right now, right before the US Open. In her own words, in interviews after Wimbledon, she's talked about wearing details connected to her heritage as something sentimental to her, something tied directly to her identity. That's not a marketing strategy bolted on afterward. That's coming from her. So here's the real question sitting underneath all of this: does any of it matter if she doesn't perform? Because fashion can generate headlines. A sold-out shirt can trend for a day. But eventually, the player has to walk through the tunnel, step onto the court, and face an opponent who has absolutely no interest in how many shirts got sold. Tennis is brutally indifferent to popularity. The scoreboard does not care whether your name is trending. If anything, a bigger profile means heavier expectations, every loss becomes a bigger discussion, every win raises the bar for what comes next. And this return to New York carries specific weight for her, because it's not her first time on that stage. 3 years earlier, as a teenager, Eala won the US Open girls singles title on those same courts, proof, even then, that she could handle the pressure of New York. This time, she's coming back as a professional carrying the expectations of an entire country, a fast-growing global fanbase, and now, a level of commercial interest that most players her age simply don't have yet. So here's the tension the next 2 weeks are actually going to test. Can the fashion story and the tennis story grow at the same time, feeding each other, instead of competing with each other? Because the clothing only means something because there's a real athlete behind it. The shirt sells out because people already feel connected to her story. Strip the tennis away, and the rest of it stops making sense. That's exactly why what happens at this US Open matters so much more than a typical early round result would for anyone else. She isn't wrapping up a finished career and transitioning into lifestyle fame. She's still building. Still competing. Still trying to turn a breakout year into something that lasts. And that's the real suspense here, the thing I want you thinking about as you watch her matches over the next 2 weeks. What happens if the fashion attention keeps growing at the same time her results do? What happens if the player already creating this much noise off the court starts making deep runs at the sport's biggest tournaments, back to back? Because right now, we are not watching the final chapter of this story, we're watching it get written in real time, and nobody, including Eala herself, knows exactly how far this version of her goes. The dress is ready. The shirt already sold out once. The Nike cameras are rolling. And in a matter of days, none of that will matter for even a single point once she's standing on that court in Flushing Meadows. She'll have to do this part herself, the way she always has. But that's exactly what makes this moment worth paying attention to, because behind every headline about a sold-out shirt is still a 21-year-old with a racket in her hand, representing a country that has never had a moment quite like this one before. So tell me in the comments, do you think the attention around her right now helps her at the US Open, or does it add pressure she doesn't need yet? I read these, and I want to know how you're seeing it. And if you want to know how this story actually plays out once she's on court, make sure you're subscribed, because we will be covering every twist of it as it happens.